Fam, welcome back. Thanks for rocking with me on the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. For the past 2 weeks, we have been talking about the subject of toxic relationships. I want to shift gears here a little bit. We are going to talk about how to behave and how to interact, how to engage with new relationships. Once you've gotten the old ones out of the way, what are some things that we need to focus on when we enter into new relationships? So whenever you get rid of one thing and you're trying to replace it with something new, you can't take something out, can't take something away without replacing it with something else. So if we're taking away something negative or not beneficial, it's not adding value, we want to replace that, but we want to make sure that we're replacing it with the right things. And we want to make sure that we are approaching it the correct way. So as we always talk about, taking that self-inventory, working on yourself, trying to figure out how you are showing up in relationships, thus how you engage. How do you show up to that next relationship? And that's what we're going to deal with today. But please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure that you hit the like tab, hit that notification tab, and most of all, click that subscribe button so that you can stay abreast to all content that is coming here on this platform. We're going to take a snippet from Iyanla Vanzant. She has a show that's talking about relationships. She's always trying to, fix people's lives and whatnot. But I thought this was a very interesting clip here of her giving some pointers on how to engage in relationships and what are some key things that we should look for. So let's go ahead and jump into the clip, and we will provide some commentary along the way.
Welcome to the R Spot, the place where we come to explore and examine and look at all issues and challenges related to relationships, all kinds of relationships, but particularly love ships, because we want to do better when it comes to those lasting, loving relationships. So this week, I want to talk about something very important: how to behave at the beginning of a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
How to behave at the beginning of a relationship, because I believe if you want to know the end, look at the beginning. So however you be and whatever you do and whatever you establish at the beginning of the relationship will determine not only the life of the relationship, but also the end of the relationship. And it's amazing to me how many people, either because they haven't been dating, or because they haven't dated in a while, or because they've always done it a certain way, absolutely don't know what to do at the beginning of a relationship. So there's a couple of things I want to share with you, and let's see if this is helpful to those of us who are getting back in the relationship game. Did you understand? I said those of us, okay? So I'm just talking to myself. I'll let you listen in because you don't have nothing else to do today. How to act at the beginning of a relationship. There's an old song. I think they sang it in one of the movies. I don't know which one. I look at a lot of movies. But in this movie, there was a song that said "Getting to know you." Getting to know you. That is the first thing you have to do in the beginning of a relationship. It can't just be the animal attraction. It can't just be you look good and you make me feel good. It can't just be because you asked me, can I smash up on you? I learned that on Love and Hip Hop. I'm so proud of myself. I learned how to say smash up. You can't just be that. It has to be getting to know you. In the beginning of a relationship, take your time and get to know the person. Get to know who they are.
And I'm going to stop right there for a second. We talk about that all the time, of getting to know the person, because the worst thing that can happen is when we decide to engage into the relationship. Down the line, I hear it so many times, people say, well, that person changed. That person changed. And I always throw it back on that person who makes this statement. Is it that the person really changed? Or did you ignore the red flags in the beginning of the relationship because you were so focused on the niceties, so focused on the idea, so infatuated with the person that your desire to want to be in their space, to be in the relationship, overshadowed things that were blatantly clear, that were giving you the SOS help, the warning signs in the beginning. So we really got to be intentional about that. We really got to pay attention to that. Is it that the person really changed, or did we take enough time to really get to know the person in the beginning?
What they like, what they don't like. Get to know their conversation. Get to know their values and their views. Get to know their political affiliations, because today that is very important. You do not want to be dating certain people who have certain political affiliations. Get to know their views about children, about medicine, about God, about the world. Getting to know you. That is so important. And the way you get to know one another is through conversation.
Yes.
Meet and talk.
Yes.
Have tea. You don't always have to go to dinner at a fancy and expensive restaurant. You can talk on the phone. You can walk in the park. You can go to a tea house. But get to know the person. Get to know their relationship history. And it doesn't have to be through a series of questions, like you're interrogating a suspect, okay? You have conversations. And in conversations, people begin to reveal. If you want a partner who's can talk and listen, then you've got to have conversations and see how they behave.
And that's going back to chapter 6 of the book, Thinking Different About Relationships. We got to have effective communication. You have to ask the right questions in hopes of getting the right response. If you ask open-ended questions or just, vague questions, they got to be very pointed. They have to be intentional. They have to be driving at the heart of what it is that you are looking for. So if you ask a vague question, expect a vague response. Don't get mad because people aren't giving you the information or the insight that you are desiring, but you are not doing your due diligence to ask the right questions to figure out what it is that you're seeking. So we really got to have these real intentional talks with people up front. Let them know your expectations. Let them know what it is that they're looking for. Don't set people up for the okie doke, and don't set yourself up for the okie doke. Time is precious. You don't have time to waste. If it's love that you're looking for, be intentional. Be pointed with your questioning, and just lay it out on the table. These are my expectations, and this is what I'm looking for. Either the person will jump on board and oblige it, or they have the other option, which is their right to just say thank you, but no thank you, and keep it moving. But you don't want to waste people's time. And make sure that you are clear, concise, and pointed with your line of questioning.
So the first thing you want to do is get to know the person before you give them a key, before you give them the goodies, before you order the invitations to the wedding.
Absolutely.
Get to know the person.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, be willing to let the person get to know you.
Yes.
I can't tell you, I've talked to so many women who ask the
guard
guys
down.
a
Let the
series
guard
of
down.
questions, or the person they're dating. Some women I know aren't dating guys; they're dating other women. But they meet other women and they start to ask a series of questions, like they're ticking off a checklist or a job application, and they don't say anything about themselves. So get to know the other person.
The checklist.
Let the other person know who you are. Let them know what interests you. Let them know what your dreams and goals and aspirations are. Let them know your relationship history. And the other thing that this does in this getting to know you period is it teaches you how to speak and how to listen. because when you're in conversation, you got to listen for warning signs. You have to listen for information. You have to listen for holes in the story. You got to listen for all kind of things. So that getting to know you process is really, really important. The other thing is, in the beginning of a relationship, you've got to establish certain boundaries and make certain agreements. What are the boundaries? When you're dating somebody, do they have permission to just show up at your doorstep without calling? When you're beginning a relationship, what are your views about being late? About how often you see each other? About what you expect from one another? You've got to set those things up early, and you've got to be in agreement about that. You can't just let things unfold, and before you know it, you got 2 kids, a cat, and somebody sleeping in the bed with you, and you never made that agreement, okay? I remember I was in a situation one time, and someone came to my house, and they left some clothes. And I said, excuse me, this is not the dry cleaners. Why is this here? Here, you forgot it. Take it with you. No. You don't be pissing on my bushes. You know, that's what the cats and the dogs do. They pee on the bushes so that the other cats and dogs know that's their property. No. Don't leave your clothes here. You don't pay rent here. You don't live here. And we have not had that conversation. So don't do it. Establish that up front. Establish with the person you're with when you're dating what feels good and doesn't feel good. What makes you excited and happy about the relationship, and what doesn't. If your partner wants to take you to the video game hall and that's not what you want to do, you need to let them know that. Don't go along just to get along. Don't go along early in the relationship just to get along. Let your needs and your wants and your desires and interests be known, and do it gently. No, that really doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. I had a friend who was dating this person who didn't have a car.
I'm going to stop right there for a second because she hit on something really good as far as establishing expectations, understanding your expectations, and then establishing expectations in a relationship. But moreover, in the beginning of the relationship, when you're just letting things go on just to get along, what she was just iterating here. So chapter 5 in the book of Thinking Different About Relationships, I talk about love the idea of relationship, not your person. And what do I mean by that? We get into relationships just to say we are in a relationship with someone, and we love the idea of what this person brings to our world, meaning it might be the status, it might be the benefits, it might be, let's be honest, it might be sexual pleasures that this person makes you feel a certain way. It could be being around their circle. It could be a multitude of different reasons that you want to be with the person because of the perception of what other people might say or what other people think. And so you're just so infatuated with the idea of being in a relationship, or even if the person does not even amount up to a hill of beans. But just to say you got someone, you're willing to overlook all these things, all these red flags. And it's very damning. So we got to make sure that we have those conversations with the people to show them, what our expectations are, and to get their perspective, what their expectations are of us. But mostly, we need to make sure that we really want to be in the relationship with the person and not just infatuated with the idea of having a relationship just because we want a relationship.
So she always had to go pick him up. And it really kind of pissed her off. And I said, well, have you told him that? And more than have you told him, are you willing to ride the bus with him? That's a beautiful date. Get on the bus together. Go where you're going together. Drive around the corner from his house, park the car, and then go get on the bus together. If this guy, you're interested in him, and he doesn't have a car. And he didn't have a car because he couldn't afford a car. He didn't have a car for a whole variety of other reasons that didn't work out in the relationship. But anyway, that's okay. Establish that stuff up front. Be willing to do something new. In the beginning of a relationship, be willing to do something new. In fact, introduce new things.
Introducing new things, doing something different, doing something new. We've heard it time and time again. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but you are expecting a different result. If you have not done the work on yourself and you keep getting into relationships and you are wondering why every single relationship, romantic relationship, does not work, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, sir, the common denominator is you. You have not done the work on yourself. You cannot keep entering into these relationships the same way you left the other one and expect it to work. People don't rock like that. So come on, we got to get off of our high horses. Do the work on yourselves. Do your own self-inventory. Fix yourself. I'm not saying you got to be perfect going into the relationship, but stop going into relationships expecting perfect people and expecting people to adjust to your lifestyle, and you are not doing any changing or growing on your end. And you're getting pissed off because you keep picking bum people. Well, that's what you're attracting. That's what you want. That's what you like. And it's just what Yana said. A lot of times, a lot of people that I talk to, when they have issues in their relationships, it's not necessarily because the other person knows that there's an issue. It's because the person who has the issue with the other person, they have not communicated that there's an issue. So how in the world does the other person know that there's a problem? How can they self-correct if you're not opening your mouth? So again, we can't keep going into relationship to relationship to relationship, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Open your mouth and communicate and talk.
Introduce new things to your partner, or to the person that you're dating. Don't wait until y'all are old and bored and got little gray hairs hanging out your chin to say, you know what, I think I want to learn how to knit. No, do it up front. Establish that early in the relationship. Whether you're adventurous, or if you like music, or if there's something that you want to try, bring the partner along with you. And when the partner wants you to try something new, do that. I remember this guy was trying to talk to me one time, and he rode a motorcycle. I'm not getting on no motorcycle. I am not getting on the motorcycle. He did not have a car, and I was not getting on the motorcycle, so that didn't go too very far at all, okay? So, but be willing to do something new, okay? Even if it means getting on the motorcycle. That's just, to me, it's just so classless. Sorry, all the motorcycle riders out there. Early in the relationship, talk about the kind of relationship that you want. Not on the first date, not on the second date, maybe not even on the third date, but by the fourth date, or maybe the 10th phone call, you might want to ask, what kind of relationship you want. Do you want a monogamous relationship? Do you want a committed relationship? Do you want an open relationship? Do you want marriage? Do you want children? What is it that you want? Have that conversation, not on date one over the pizza, but early in the relationship.
Absolutely.
When it feels like, looks like, sounds like this thing is going to keep moving.
Yeah.
Don't let the train get halfway to the destination before you say, you know what, I really don't want to be married. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, when you hear what the person wants in a relationship, believe them.
Absolutely. Okay. This demands a stop and commentary right here. because this hits on so many levels. Again, we got to look. You got to pay attention to the red flags. You got to communicate effectively. We got to shut up and listen to what people are saying. Just what she said. Believe them. Don't be surprised when people play out what they told you. If you go into a relationship, again, you're more engrossed with the idea of being in a relationship with this person because you think you can change them. You think you can make them better. You think you can level them up. You think they on the come up just because they're with you. Believe people what they tell you. Don't get mad in the relationship if they tell you in the beginning, I'm a workaholic. I'm all about my paper. I still want a relationship, but I don't know how to balance this thing because my career is number one in my life right now. But you still want a relationship. You think I'm good enough, I'm special enough that I'm going to change this person's mind. Now we've entered into a relationship, and now you mad because they not giving you the kind of time that you want because they on the grind at their job. But you like the benefits of their grind. The cars, the house, the money, the trips, the dinners, the clout, the people that they know, the in crowd. But you want more of their time. Rightfully so. But if you get more of their time, it takes away from their grind. And if it takes away from their grind, you no longer have the lifestyle that you are accustomed to that you want. So what is it that you want? Do you want the lifestyle or do you want the time? Now, we're just talking about dating right now. When you get down the line, we're talking about marriage. That's a different story. We got to make some concessions here. But you're just in the dating phase. What is it that you want? Communicate effectively. Be real. Be upfront. Don't beat around the bush. Say what you want. But don't get mad when people exhibit and express and play out what they have communicated to you. But you don't like what they're playing out, but you want the benefits of what they're doing. So come on, fam. We got to do better.
Believe them. If they tell you they're not looking for a serious committed relationship and that's what you want, well, you can have play dates. You can go out and have fun, but don't think that you're going to change this person's
Absolutely.
mind. If
Not
this
gonna
person
do it.
only wants a sexual relationship and you want something more, don't invite them to spend the night. When somebody tells you what it is that they want in a relationship, if it doesn't line up with what you want, doesn't mean you have to stop dating, but you got to be clear. You are not going to change this person's mind.
Yes.
Continue to date if you choose to,
Yes.
but then,
And
you
then
know,
it's your
spread
fault.
your
Don't
net a
blame the
little
other
further
person.
because it may be somebody else out there. But do that early on. Don't do it in 6 months down the road. The other thing, early on in a relationship, you really want to get some family history.
Yeah, you do.
You know, how's your mother? And your dad? What did your dad teach you? What did your dad do? You know, do you have brothers? Do you have sisters? Are you in good relationship with them? Listen, family history is important because you could be marrying something that you don't want no parts of. And it also doesn't mean that if the family history is jacked up, that you won't go forward and you won't stay in relationship. But trust me, you really want to know what you're getting into. If they don't know their daddy, ain't speaking to their mama, and ain't seen their brother in 5 years, you better eat that pizza and keep on moving. Okay. Early on in a relationship, it's important for you to get clear about your feelings, your thoughts, your beliefs about relationships, and make sure that you and this person are in alignment. All too often I get letters from people whose relationship happened to them. They didn't create the relationship. The relationship just happened as a course of them being together or seeing one another or talking. I saw it on Love and Hip Hop.
Well, she got to think with Love and
How
Hip
many of
Hop.
those relationships were not created? They just happened because the people didn't know each other. They didn't have clear boundaries. They didn't set agreements. They didn't talk about family history, it just happened. And now it's just a Wahala mess going on over there. Yep, I have it on my DVR. You'd be surprised how many of these R spots come about as a result of what I see on television. I saw Law and Order. I'm going to do a R spot about that really, really soon. But anyway, how to behave in the beginning of a relationship. Get to know the person. Engage in conversation before you engage in intimate activity. Get a little family history. Make sure that what you want and what this person is offering are somewhere in the same area. Be sure you talk to the person about their relationship history, and not only what happened and what they did, but what did they learn and how are they living that and practicing that in their life.
And I'm going to stop the clip there because that actually brings us to my final point here. What we talk about all the time of how we close the show. What has that person learned? What have they learned? Do they know what happened in the past? Did they do their homework? Did they dig deep into their backpacks to understand their hurts, their pains, their traumas, why they are the way that they are now, how they're moving and jucking and jiving? Did they learn from their past experience? Did they learn from their past relationships? Are they still entering into the new relationship the same way they left the old one? Have they taken time to even get over the other person? Have they done the work? That's what we need to know, people. That's what we need to know, fam. When we do the homework, when we take the deep dive to understand ourselves and stop worrying about the other person. I can't stress that enough. Stop worrying about other people in the relationship. Focus on yourself first. Stop trying to change other people. It's hard enough to change ourselves. So we gotta do the internal work. Because once we do the internal work, we can then understand how we are showing up in relationships, thus how we are engaging in them. And when we understand how we engage, we can then be better in our homes, in our families, in our communities, in society, globally, in our nation. And we can take this thing universal. So until next time, family, please continue to think differently about relationships.